Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical vision for a revolution, but it's one that starts not out on the streets, but deep inside the soul. It's a whole philosophy that really tries to unpack the root of all our suffering and completely redefines what it means to live a flourishing life. So, let's get into it.
It all kicks off with this really powerful, universal truth. The core struggles of being human, that restlessness, the sorrow, the pain we all feel, they're not unique to any one person or any one group. Nope, they're shared by every single one of us. This is our common ground, and it's where we're going to start our journey. Okay, so if we all feel this deep unrest, where does it actually come from? Well, the first big idea we're going to tackle is this. Our inner turmoil isn't actually caused by the world around us. Instead, the world is just a mirror, reflecting what's already going on inside of us. The philosophy we're looking at gives this feeling a specific name, Ashanti. And this isn't just, being in a bad mood. It's a profound, deep-seated restlessness that just drains life of all its joy and meaning. This is the fundamental problem we're trying to figure out. To really get this idea of the world being a mirror, there's this simple but amazing little parable. Just picture a traveler who's just left their old home, and they show up at the gates of a new village, hoping to settle down. They see an old man sitting there, and they ask him a pretty straightforward question. So the old man's response is just fascinating. He doesn't answer the question. Instead, he flips it around and asks the traveler, well, what were the people like in the village you just came from? When the traveler complains about how wicked and terrible everyone was, the old man says, oh, you'll find the people here are even worse. But then a second traveler comes along, and this one remembers their old village with so much love. And the old man tells them, you will find the people in this village are even better. And that just nails the whole point, right? The village never changes. The traveler does. The source of our peace or our chaos isn't out there. It's in here. If you feel that unrest, you are the reason. And if you're going to find peace, guess what? You've got to be the reason for that too. So if the problem and the solution is inside us, how in the world do we fix it? Well, this leads to a really beautiful metaphor for how to actually cultivate a life of joy and meaning. The story goes like this. A young Mao Zedong's mother, who was a really passionate gardener, gets sick, and her beautiful garden, her absolute pride and joy, starts to wither away. Mao, wanting to help, gets to work. He waters the flowers, he tends to the leaves, all the visible parts. But no matter what he does, the garden just keeps dying. When his mother is finally well enough to see what's happened, she tells him his big mistake with this one crucial piece of wisdom. He was so focused on what he could see, but the real source of life was hidden, unseen, deep down in the soil. And this is a perfect map for our own lives, isn't it? We spend so much time and energy on our flowers, our jobs, our looks, our achievements, all the external stuff. But the real source of life, the roots, is our invisible inner self, our soul, our sense of peace, the quiet moments. We forget to water the roots, and then we stand around wondering why our flowers are wilting. Okay, now this is where the philosophy takes a really sharp and incredibly powerful turn. It applies this whole idea of a neglected inner self directly to the condition of women in society historically and even today. The source asks this honestly kind of startling question. Not where are women, plural, but where is the woman? Where is her individual, independent self, her soul, her being? The argument here is that society has, in a way, made her totally invisible. I mean, think about it. How do we usually identify a woman? It's almost always in relation to someone else, usually a man or a family. She's defined by her roles. She's a mother, a sister, a daughter, a wife. But who is she just as herself? And what this all boils down to is this. Her entire identity has been built like a shadow. She exists only in connection to the man she's reflecting. Her own soul, her own roots, have been systematically ignored by society and, over time, even by herself. So if the problem is literally an erased self, then the solution can't just be an external fight. It has to be what's called a revolution of the soul, a radical internal act of taking back what was lost. This isn't about banners or marches, not at first anyway. The first and most important step is completely internal. It's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. It's a declaration of your own existence, totally separate from any role or relationship you have. So this path to liberation is laid out in 3 huge steps. First, you declare your own existence. To just say, I am. Not a wife, not a mother, just I am. Second, you refuse to be treated like property. You reject any tradition where a woman is given from one man to another. And finally, and this is crucial, you make love your one and only law. You build a life centered on love, not on social arrangements.
Now, this final point is presented as maybe the most revolutionary idea of them all. Why is centering your whole life on love so critical to this revolution of the soul? While the argument is that any marriage based on arrangement or family pressure or social status, anything other than real, genuine love, is basically a transaction. It reinforces that old idea of a woman as an object to be transferred as property, and to agree to that kind of union is to accept that status. And this is the ultimate declaration of selfhood. Choosing to build your life based on the profound, personal truth of love is the highest moral act you can perform. It's the act of taking back your own soul, of saying, my inner world, my feelings, my connection, my roots are what matter most.
And all of this brings us to one last really provocative thought. This revolution of the soul isn't just about one person's journey. The idea is that since the woman is often the center of the family, the nucleus of society, her inner state just radiates outward. If that center is repressed and joyless, well, the world will be too. But what if that center is liberated? What if she's joyful and full of love? Just imagine, what kind of world could we build then?